Welcome to Our Jewish Roots, with insightful Bible teaching by Dr. Jeffrey Seif. In this program, a show of loyalty by a young Moabite widow leads her into the lineage of the Messiah. Our focus is on Ruth, today on divine deliverance.
From the beginning, our Creator revealed His will to the common man. Individuals who listened to His call and responded in obedience. From the first Hebrew Avraham to the culmination of salvation in Messiah Himself. The Lord faithfully intervenes with His divine deliverance.
We're so glad you've joined us today. I'm David Hart.
I'm Kirsten Hart.
Jeffrey Seif here. And guys, I love it. It's fascinating. It's a joy to tell stories about great women. Case in point, Ruth.
Yes. Right, in Hebrew, root.
Yes.
Root. That's kind of good. I just got that.
They're very good.
Right, there's not a TH in Hebrew. I've learned that from you and from your wisdom. But even as roots go down, they're strong. Yeah, well, they hold firm.
Play with the pun. We're going to root for Ruth. Yes, today.
That's good. Now, let's go to our drama as we see Naomi return to Bethlehem with her daughter-in-law, Ruth.
Grief-stricken by the death of her husband and two sons, Naomi's return to Bethlehem has not been a pleasant one. Her daughters-in-law have accompanied her and offered their support, but it all seems so hopeless.
זה לא בסדר. זה לא בסדר, חזרו. שובו לעמכם, לבית אמותיכם במואב. עשית אני מחסד. עם אלה שאינם עוד איתנו. אלוהים ייתן לכם מנוחה. לא. לא נחזור למואב לעולם. אנחנו נעשה את המסע הזה איתך. לארצך ולעמך. למה? אני כבר זקנה מדי. לא אוכל להוליד לכן ילדים. לא אוכל להביא לכן בנים להינשא להם. הביטי בי. אלוהים לא ייטיב עמי. מגיע לכן משהו טוב יותר. שובו לביתכן. עורפה חוזרת לעמה ולאלוהיה. אני רוצה שתחזרי איתה. לא. כי אשר תלכי, אלך. ואשר תליני, אלין. עמך, עמי, ואלוהיך, אלוהי. ואשר תמותי, אמות, ושם אקבר. כה יעשה אדוני לבכו יוסיף. כי רק המוות יפריד ביני ובינך.
What's particularly important to me is the dramatic tension between those women. But before getting to it, I want to speak to the backdrop of it, something I think we can all relate to, and that is sometimes when family economies go bad, it sets in motion all kinds of tension, problems, and movements. The family was in Moab, modern Jordan, and things just dried up. Things weren't good. There was death, there was tragedy. They came to Moab originally because there was a famine in Bethlehem. That's why Naomi and the family went, but things have improved. The backdrop to our story now is a woman, a Hebrew woman, an Israelite, who's returning to the homeland. And interestingly, an Arab woman comes with her. It's a beautiful story of family loyalty. And I like it too because we're looking at a woman, Ruth, whose beauty, whose loyalty to her mother-in-law. You know, mother-in-laws are subjected to a lot of jokes, and the God's honest truth, I've told one or two. But here, there's a woman who is so connected to her mother-in-law. Naomi is going back to Bethlehem to face an uncertain future. She doesn't really know what the outcome's going to be. And neither does Ruth, but just Ruth is so loyal. And that sterling virtue that she possesses, Ruth possesses, has left such a mark on the language that to be without virtue is said to be, quote, ruthless. I like the story in the text in chapter 1, verse 16 in Hebrew, Ki el asher telki elek. Where you go, I will go. And she stuck with mom, and you know what? She experienced a future that was beyond her wildest dreams. A lot of people are driven by circumstance, and to be sure, circumstance is driving this. Deprivation is driving this. Lack of income, lack of work drove the family, Naomi and her husband and sons, to Moab, away from the Promised Land. And then abysmal circumstances in Moab, modern Jordan, drove them back. And it's interesting, the drivers behind the story are difficulties in human affairs that we all face, but what fascinates me is how redemption and deliverance emerges from this. When we think of deliverance, we think of kings, generals, and saviors. I get that. But here, there's a story of deliverance coming not through power, not through pomp, but through peasantry. You saw the tattered robes of these women. They're not wearing fancy regalia. They're just wearing the inner beauty of a beautiful inner disposition. And out of that, God is going to bring forth the woman who is going to give birth to the Savior of Israel, not just in a spiritual sense as in Jesus, because Ruth is mentioned in his genealogy, but similarly to the line of David. It's a great story, and it's a story that we're going to attend.
So Boaz took Ruth as his wife. And the Lord blessed them with a son.
Truth be known, I almost hate to interrupt the drama or to come out of it because the teaching is so much in the pictures. It's such a beautiful story of finding love at the ragged edge of life. Boaz is going to be dead in short order, and Ruth is going to go on and bring forth a line that's going to facilitate, in a material and spiritual sense, the salvation, the deliverance of Israel. It's a beautiful story, and just finding love itself is a beautiful story. Just finding blessing. You know, Ruth, it's this rags to riches story. It's this from being unemployed to getting a great job. Anyone that's experienced the contrast can relate. And if what you're experiencing right now is deprivation, not resolution, well, it holds out hope in the biblical text that life can turn around, and it does. Oftentimes we go down the aisle when we're married and we say, I do, but the first I do or the first I will wasn't a transaction between Ruth and Boaz. It was between someone else. In chapter 3, verse 5, I'll give it to you at the first in the Hebrew, Kol asher tomri elai e'aser. It translates, Ruth said to her, I will do everything you say. The advice was given through Naomi, the mother-in-law. Listen, honey, I want to give you some advice. And there's a younger woman who's minded to abide it. Now that in and of itself, by the way, is a message for today, where the young tend to press against the previous generation. It's all about autonomy, and younger people are less inclined. I know for me with my boys, the way to not see a relationship get started is for me to advise it. That how could I possibly be right in these affairs? But here there's a story of a woman who says, honey, listen to me, and a little matchmaker going on, but good things came from that. I believe that God has great plans for our lives, and there could be some that are listening that are experiencing deprivation. This story began by deprivation in Bethlehem, so they went to Moab, modern Jordan. Deprivation and tragedy in Jordan, so they go back with little more than the ragged clothes on their back. They go back to Bethlehem to face an uncertain future. And here's this woman, Ruth. Folk could have said, oh, here's this Arab woman, what's she doing here, whatever, but it's not a racist culture. And by the way, Jews are not racist people, as a rule of thumb, contrary to popular misconception. But it's a story where you could say these women have it all stacked against them. They're acted upon forces beyond their control that tend to be more negative than positive. But you know what? God can pull the rabbit out of the hat, make the miracle to happen. He did, and He does. Great things to come in Ruth's life through this wonderful son that was born through this miracle-made union, a match made in heaven.
If you only watch us on television, you are missing additional content available only on our social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can always visit our website, which is home base for all of our ministry activities and information. There you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter, watch the TV program, or visit the online store. Join us as we tour Israel and Petra. Please contact us for more information. We would love to hear from you. Please join us on our social media, Facebook, YouTube, and even Twitter. Now let's go to the celebration of the birth of a son.
Naomi's life has completely changed. Once overcome by despair at the loss of her husband and 2 sons, she's found new hope in the birth of Ruth's son. And the women of Bethlehem are equally delighted.
יבורך האל שנתן לך גואל. אנו מתפללות ששמו גדול יהיה בישראל. תודה, בורכתי. תודה רבה. כפי שתטפלי בו, ישיב לך כגמולך. וכלתך רות, כמה שהיא אוהבת אותך. טובה היא לך מ7 בנים.
There's reason for celebration here at the city's gate. A once tragic story has miraculously turned for the good. Heartbroken at the loss of her family while in Moab, Naomi has returned with her daughter-in-law Ruth and become a vital chapter in a love story for the ages. Ruth, ever faithful to Naomi and the God of Israel, has gained a loving redeemer in Boaz. And now, on a little road in Bethlehem of Judah, they rejoice over the son of Ruth and Boaz. and they named the child Obed, meaning servant of God. Obed would become the father of Jesse, and Jesse would become the father of David, king of all Israel. Rejoice they should, and it's just begun here in this little town of Bethlehem.
Moving drama, is it not? Great story, to be sure. And the Bible is full of that. People that are just pushed to the ragged edge, but God bringing beauty out of ashes. It so fascinates me how deliverance comes through very difficult circumstances, and it happens on more than one occasion. And it's facilitated through women in the Bible, interestingly. Women that are tortured by lack of success, mothering problems, birthing problems, I should say, and so forth. But God has a way. Here we're told, as we noted when we saw it visually depicted in chapter 4, verse 16, that Naomi, the mother-in-law, took the child and held the child, and then all the neighbors are coming and doting on the child. Little did they know how special the child would be. There's a tradition in the Jewish world, by the way, when boys are born to say, and this one might be the Messiah. Well, truth be known, this one was giving birth to the lineage here. This woman, Ruth, was holding Obed, whose name is servant. We're told in verse 18, it begins, Ele Toldot. These are the generations. And by the way, the same kind of context and the same kind of words are the opening words of the ultimate deliverance story in the Bible in Matthew chapter 1, verse 1. Sefer Toldot HaYeshua HaMashiach ben David ben Avraham. The book of the genealogies, or the book of the generations of Jesus the Messiah, ben David, the son of David, who ben Avraham, the son of Abraham. Inasmuch as the Ruth text speaks of the beginning of generativity, here you can see where this all points to. It's interesting, by the way, in the genealogies of Yeshua in the Newer Testament, there are a number of women who are participants in the drama. They're named, and Tamar is named. She was a woman blacklisted, in effect. Judah, her father-in-law disrespected her, and he had wicked sons who died, and he blamed the woman. And she, however, is going to, through interesting circumstances, give birth to a son. She's in the line. Ruth is noted in the line as well, and she is a Jordanian. She had a Jordanian passport, an Arab woman, if you will, a beautiful woman. And Bathsheba is noted, who was married to a man from Turkey. I say that because Uriah the Hittite, if you look where the Hittites frequented, we're on the Anatolian Peninsula, Asia Minor, modern Turkey. There's lots of interesting people in the drama. I don't think God's a racist, and I don't think you find that in the Hebrew Bible. You find in the lineage of Yeshua a lot of people from the region that have come together to give birth to the King of the Jews. In fact, it's interesting for my money, even when you look at the Matthean text, the Gospel of Matthew, the first to acknowledge Yeshua are not women and men of Jewish extract. It never says there were 3 wise men that came. That's just a tradition. But the fact that they came with gold, frankincense, and myrrh attests to them being what we'd call Arabic traders. These are commodities that were moved around on dromedaries, on camels, by Arab peoples. It was a major trade in that part of the world. It's a beautiful story about estranged Arab cousins coming to worship He who is King of the Jews. Deliverance is fascinating. Lots of surprises, yes? It's a rhetorical question. When I say yes, I'm kind of asking, but I think I know the answer to it, and I hope that you know the answer too. We're looking at the drama of the ages as found in the pages, and we're tracing the story of deliverance, how it came through this book, and I hope it came to you.
As we've been preparing for this program today, I've watched Kirsten really intrigued with the story. And I'm thinking, one of the reasons maybe because I'm older than you?
You're not that much older.
No.
Dave's 8 years older. We'll put that out there. But it is interesting. There's so many parts of this story. You know, I kind of say sometimes you chew on things. There's a lot. Ruth was a foreigner. She wasn't Jewish. Ruth was a woman, strike two. I mean, not strike, but you understand what I'm saying. And she was a widow. I mean, Boaz was her second marriage. There's so much, so many different parts of her life, and yet Yeshua chose to come from her. I think that's very interesting.
She doesn't look like, you know, her high school yearbook wouldn't have most likely to succeed.
Yeah.
If I understand your point, you wouldn't expect to get so much out of her in the sense.
Good.
In the biblical economy, it's fascinating. And the author of Matthew alights upon Ruth as in the lineage. I think it's very important. It's a great point.
And she followed her mother-in-law to a land she didn't know, to people
now,
that
listen,
different customs.
Following your mother-in-law, that's worthy of merit
right? We
in
give
and of
a
itself.
hand clap for Ruth just for that.
Mom, I hope you're not watching. Why do mother-in-laws get such a bum rap? Anyway.
I have to be careful because mine watches this. No, I'm just playing. I don't know, because it's not, it is your family, but it's not really your family. I mean, Ruth left the people that she knew, the traditions, the food, everything of her country to go to a foreign place. And then she was out of sorts,
it's interesting.
Right?
No one would have thought the less of her if she would have just stayed and waved goodbye to her mother-in-law.
Right. That would have been what you would think she would do.
But sometimes there's this radical edge. What do you think, Dave? People with faith, they just do things that kind of defy sense and sensibility, and look what happens.
I'm thinking about your beautiful, wonderful wife right now. I think she relates a little bit to the story with both of you, yes?
Well, God bless.
Wasn't Boaz 80? Are you close? I'm just playing.
No, Barry's
Sorry.
2 years older than me. You know, that when we married, Jack Hayford, very wonderful minister, with some others came and did the wedding. He said, you really should tell this story. Barry was 62 when we married, and I was 60. She'd never been married before. And to me, it's like, goodness gracious, guys are so stupid. I mean, how could this jewel just be there? She must have been just so intimidating that guys were just afraid. With me, I was just pushy. I'm 60. I go after what I want. No, I tell her all the time, and it's true. But the point is that, you know, God is great. And you know, Barry had to take a little risk to go on a journey with a guy like me later in life. And certainly Ruth had to take a risk, too, to kind of forsake everything that was familiar to go into an unknown world where she might not have been treated kindly, because people aren't kindly disposed always toward foreigners.
And she was extremely humble. I mean, she was gathering wheat from Boaz's field, and he noticed her humility, probably like you noticed your gorgeous wife's humility. There was something in her spirit that was noticed, that was different.
Yes, and that, you know, I say of Barry, she's beautiful inside and out, and there's just nothing like that testimony. Ruth does show that something special, that would that our daughters all possess that, and our sons found women like that.
So many women are waiting for their Boaz. Don't give up. Keep waiting. Be humble in spirit. Pray to the Lord, and the Lord, I believe, will bring that man into your life. We will be right back.
Please consider joining us on a Zola tour. You may feel like you're too old or maybe even too young, but we have lots of age groups on our tour. please join us. You'll find all the information right here on levitt.com.
Our ministry offers tours, but we also offer wonderful resources. This week, for a gift of $50 or more, we are offering this incredible book. I have one at home. We have one at home. It is written by John Parsons, and it's Zola's Introduction to Hebrew. Many of you absolutely love John Parsons' article in the Levitt Letter. Every month, he writes a Levitt Letter article all about Hebrew, learning Hebrew, how to pronounce. This, look, oh, all kinds of pages.
Yes.
You will finish this, you can go to Israel and talk to any Israeli.
Yeah, and speaking
Is
of
that
going
true?
Yes. Well,
I know, it's wonderful, and you're the Hebrew teacher.
Speaking of going to Israel, to David's point, some people think they're too old to go, but really the tours accommodate everyone, yes?
Me too.
And one of the most famous tourists was Ruth. Look what happened to her on a Holy Land trip.
She made it into the book.
She made it into the Bible.
She made it into the book.
Yes.
And we love to end our program every week with some Hebrew.
Yeah, we have a song coming
We
up,
do.
too.
It's
We
really
do.
actually one of my favorites that I sing, Israel, my love. We go there now, but first,
Here's your Hebrew,
To the Hebrew, you heard what the lady said, do the Hebrew. Sha'alu Shalom Yerushalayim.
which means pray for the peace of Jerusalem.
Return. Are we saved? Oh, blessed be He. When the King comes home to the land He loves, can we live? Can we pray? Can we be? Israel, my love. Israel, my promised, chosen of God, chosen for me, homeland forever, land of Messiah, Israel, my love. How God watches thee.
join us right now for additional content that is only available on our social media sites, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Visit our website, levitt.com, for the current and past programs, the television schedule, tour information, and our free monthly newsletter, which is full of insightful articles and news commentary. View it online, or we can ship it directly to your mailbox every month. Also on our website is the online store. There, you can order this week's resource, or you can always give us a call at 1-800-WONDERS. Your donations to Our Jewish Roots help us to support these organizations as they bless Israel. Please remember, we depend on tax-deductible donations from viewers like you. This has been a paid program brought to you by Zola Levitt Ministry.